Oh no, don't worry, John F. Kennedy. Your secret is safe with me. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Crowdfunding Cough Clown. I didn't plan that. I really didn't. Oh, it's gonna be a good one. Good thing I have a mute button. This is where we take a look at every single board game campaign, finishing up in the next week. And we have a big week today. When I was getting the tabs open, I saw, oh yeah, this is finishing in 8 days, and I thought, wow, there really isn't a large week. And then I realized I'd had a full week's worth in just the first 2 days because I'm filming this a little bit early because that's what my schedule is now. And so on that note, I want to give a huge shout out to my lovely patrons, my lovely new patrons. Thanks so much for jumping on board. Susan, Alina, or Elena, probably that one, and Poppy. Thanks so much for jumping on board the Room Board Patreon and supporting the channel. It's always mind-blowing to me how generous the board gaming community is. Thanks to Steve for upping your donation. You're all just really incredible, and you make it worthwhile doing this week after week. Because yeah, it's you. It's not the board games that make it worthwhile. It's you. I hate board games, in fact, but I do love you all. So I guess we'll keep doing it. Actually, last week really made it worthwhile. There were some incredible picks. I backed something. I never back something, and I backed something. And it was really cool to see everybody who shouted me out in the comments over there, too, being like, hey, I'm backing it too. If Chris George can't find restraint, I certainly don't have to. And believe me, I see you, and I will endeavor to be more responsible and conceal my purchases from you and Renee. But let's move on to the week. We got a big week going on this week, and starting off right away with something that I missed but was brought to my attention by a patron, so I figure we're going to cover it because it has funded, and so chances are you might be able to late pledge for it. A lot of the stuff you can always late pledge for, remember. So if you're new to the channel, well, hey, be sure to hit subscribe, and also you can go back the last 3 months if you want to find out what board games you can probably late pledge for. You just go through all the crowdfunding countdowns, or I keep a master list that I keep updating of all the campaigns that we've covered. And I think we're at something like 1,383, I think, since this series began. It's episode 97 as we move to 100 and no more. That's when it's going to end. Just kidding. Here we go. But let's check this one out. This is SSO Classis Caetera. Pretty sure I got that right. The sci-fi horror game for 1 to 6 players returns. Let's see what we missed. Oh, I've covered this already. They did this before, didn't they? SSO, 2nd edition. Oh, SSO Classis Caetera. Okay, so there's a difference. There's a difference in it. But we definitely did cover this way back when it was 11 pounds, 7 ounces. That was my birth weight. Is that a lot? I hope it's a lot. In which case, then yes, that was me. Yeah, this was back in September 2021. I do remember this. Sometimes I remember something. So let's see if this is any different. Sounds like it might be a different version, but it also sounds like it's the exact same version. Seems like it's the same. I see. Okay. So SSO Classis Caetera is just an additional challenge deck that you can shuffle into your deck. That's it. This is the new terror that is approaching, which is Latin for terror. Ah, yes. I always thought Latin for terror was, damn it, there's a joke here. The Romans, they're coming. I guess the Greeks, they would speak Greek. No more philosophy. Okay, I'm sorry. I think that's the voice that I'm going to do the rest of this episode in. No more philosophy. Oh, I don't understand why you're still here, really. I know it's just begun, and believe me, it's just begun. Anyway, this turns it into Nemesis, basically. I remember this one specifically because you had to manage your oxygen level as well, and you had to go around, and that was one of the ways you could lose, is by not having enough oxygen, naturally. This is kind of a nod to the cat in the Alien franchise. I guess there was a cat up there. I kind of forget, but I know there was a cat when you lifted the box. I'm sure there's cats in space. The vet, you can swap positions with the cat. It doesn't really make much sense, but hey, it's fun. What is nice to see is that the base game is sitting around 12 pounds, where it was sitting at 11 pounds before, according to that thing that we just checked. So not too much uptick on that. Fairly cheap. And I appreciated that you built the ship with all of your cards, and each card represented a different sort of mini task that you had to do and could access. It just seemed kind of okay to me, because basically you're going to move, and then you're going to breathe, And so just moving around, it's like kind of like a smaller puzzle, but not one that really gave me too much, gave me the feeling rather of too much depth or that much excitement. Oh, this is kind of fun. It says where 2 options are given, you'll be given a chance to upgrade. So I guess you could get it shipped with no tracking for £2, I suppose, because it's just a little deck, right? The entry level is £8, so it's total of like £20, $30 Canadian. It's not bad, all things considered, but it's not something that super interests me. However, if that little brief premise got your heart all a-tingling in terror, well, check it out. That's already done, but you can go late pledge for that if you're interested. Sorry that I missed it in last week's episode. And now, on to the real deal. Witchcraft. A midnight bell tolls on the streets of Wildegrens. Will the Glens ever show up to my house? I keep inviting them for a fun party. Which Glens, you ask? I can't think of any famous ones other than Glen Close, so let's say her. As the villagers shuttered their windows against the darkness, the isolated village is in danger. Crops are failing, animals are dying, and villagers are disappearing. Uh-oh. Are the witches good? Are they bad? Let's find out. Okay, that tells me nothing. Good job. Nice art, though. Got a couple of cuties in there, you know? Witchcraft is a solitaire game. See, that's great to know. Should have put that in the title. Oh, from the designers of Resist. Okay, I really liked the idea of Resist. I thought Resist looked good. I thought it looked pretty fun and pretty replayable, too. That makes me instantly excited because I remember really enjoying Resist, and I think it might have been the pick of the week that week, and I'm not really a solo person, so. Game is played over a series of rounds. Each round is divided into 6 phases. Play witches, choose mission, play remaining witches, resolve mission, go to trial, and recover. Oh, okay, but they both have 2 hidden sides. This just looks like a reskin of Resist, basically. This is the exact same thing in Resist, and this is what's interesting about Resist is the revealed side. You have a revealed side and a secret side. If you reveal yourself, it's more powerful, but you don't get the card back. And then new missions are going to come up. This is exactly the same as Resist. This is just a reskin of Resist. So if you didn't like the war theme, well, you wanted witches, that's what this is. If you have Resist, why would you ever get this? Because you wanted a different thing. Well, no. It says it brings a new theme and a lot of new features that bring a totally new experience. I don't believe it. Let's see. There's different families that'll chain together. There's these jurors, which is a new win condition and a different focus, where you have to persuade the jurors to make sure they don't burn you all at the stake, probably. And then familiars, which are just things that can help you out. It's Resist. I mean, it's Resist 2.0 with a different theme. I think this theme appeals to me a little bit more, though, so fair play to you. It's €20, 29 Canadian, and then what's the shipping? I mean, where's the rule book? Do you even have a rule book? I bet it's just a rule book for Resist. Rules, thank you. Oh, it's here under download rules and not rules, so you gotta have a sharp eye. I do like this, that it's the jurors that decide what mission cards you're gonna get. Those are the things you're trying to accomplish. That's kind of cool, so that determines how you shuffle it in and probably maintains a little bit of balance. That's kind of nice. Yeah, but you're still just completing missions to a predetermined amount, right? It's Resist. Okay, that's good. Hey, here's the shipping. USA, €12, so it's going to be €32 or like €38 to get to Canada, which is again $50 in that $50 range. Nah, but if you're in Spain, it's a good deal. Germany, even US, I mean, Canada doesn't make any sense. But hey, Canada times 5 units is 66, so there you go. We make it €13. 13.6666. 13.2 euros, so 43. I mean, it's still too expensive for what it is, but I know a lot of people are enjoying Resist. I thought it looked pretty good. I think this looks good as well. I can see why people, I can see why people wanted to get this one. Now, I know Renee doesn't usually appear on camera, but that's a pretty good representation. That's probably why I like it so much. If you're interested in that, the finish is July 5th. That's Wednesday at 11 a.m. Moving on, just quickly, to Season 2. No Rules Bard plays Blood on the Clocktower live. They've already hit their goal. They're raising money to make more in-person games. And I know that since I shouted them out right now, they'll invite me to play with them, right? Right? I played Blood on the Clocktower 3 times. I think I'd be pretty good. These are always sort of fun playthroughs. I still think Avalon is better, and if you shout loud enough in the comments, then I'll release the hidden vault of 2 Avalon games that I filmed, and the audio isn't that great, so they got scrapped. But I might. One of them might be salvageable. It'll just take a lot of me doing subtitles. If that interests you, let me know. And if this interests you, well, you can check it out. Social deduction games are always, I think, fun to watch. Oh, 9 backers? Okay, well, we're still looking at this. Giant. Giant is a game of shaking tokens in a cup, rolling them on the table, drafting them, and using them to take out 6 giants. You know what? It's a game that knows what it is. This is, it's all right. It's a weird one, but it's okay. You got all these giants. Look at these giants. They're 7 inches tall. That is tall. That is a giant. And basically, you've got all these giants out there, and they have a number, which is the combat value you need. And then you're also drafting cards at the beginning, which will give you combat stuff. And plus, you're also getting tokens like these tokens that you'll use to activate these people's abilities. You're constantly shaking up a cup of tokens and spitting them out, and they all have different things on the back. So depending how they land, they may show your color, they may not, and depending upon the number that are out there, that indicates the number that you can draw. Then you just take turns taking tokens, playing them down, building up your army, and then punching giants. And I this is my favorite part thematically, is that you're going to punch like just holes in the giants with your awesome strength, which I really enjoy. And then see these other little numbers, that's how many dice you will roll. And if you hit that number, then you get victory points. If you don't, then you just get additional tokens that you can use to punch more giants in the face. What are you? 32 US, 43 Canadian. That's why. 36 times 7 is not this number. It's not 324 either. I don't understand how it's this cheap. Must be produced by hand. I don't know. I probably wouldn't get it. But now you know about it. So if you're interested in that, that finishes Wednesday, July 5th at 3:29 p.m. Let's keep moving. Oh yeah, this is just quickly. Because I sometimes talk about dice here, I saw these little Omni Dice. I was curious as to what it was. World's first 15-in-1 D6 dice in your pocket. Basically, every side of the dice, as it seems, has a different potential. So it's not really the number of dice, but a roulette table where you kind of shake it and then it spits out potential numbers. Although it feels weird with all these different balls floating around, not only does it remind me of any Friday night, but I just think they would crash into each other, and the fun of checking a bunch of dice is that you get to check a bunch of dice, not just swirl your little potion and then say, what color is that? To try to figure out what's there. But hey, how much are these? Probably a lot. $58 for 1 dice. Why? Just why? Just why? Anyway, you could let me know why if you're backing that. And then I'll know that I should target you to join my Patreon, because money means nothing to you. Anyway, that finishes Thursday, July 6th at 10 a.m. Moving along quickly to Dog Park, the new Tricks expansion. I remember Dog Park back in the day. This is also fun. This has been out now. I've seen it. You can check out reviews for it. I thought it looked pretty good the first time it was out. So let's see what this new expansion adds. I'll give you just kind of a brief overview if you missed it, or you can go back, as always, to previous crowdfunding countdowns and Control F in that master sheet. All right, that's a good basic breakdown. I think that tells me pretty much all I need to know. You're going to have variable locations, whereas you didn't before, so to switch up the standard track. If you don't know about Dog Park, I guess I'll explain that first. You're walking as many dogs as you can. Here we go. Here's the board a little bit. You can see like that you're going to take your actions by moving parks-like or Takedo-like, in which the last player gets to move the furthest ahead on the track. If I remember it correctly from whenever it was they did this campaign last time. I think I am, though, because I'm incredible at this. Just get on board, baby. Honestly, just go for the puzzle. 128 good dogs? Yeah, they're probably all sweet good dogs. You're also going to be bidding on the dogs, which ones you want to add to your kennel, and then you get to choose which ones stay in your kennel and which ones actually go for a walk and get to enjoy the beauty of the world, and which dogs just stay there horribly in your kennel because you're a neglectful pet owner. How dare you? But you see this little pathway, right? Then you collect up your little treats and toys, and then you can use those toys to satisfy other dogs as you go through. From what I see of this expansion now, moving up to the expansion section, I see all the quotes saying, hey, this makes it all better. And yeah, I can see why. You're going to add in these new location tiles, which will do better things. You're going to add in multi-use dogs because you're also competing for end goals, trying to get the most of a particular breed as well as you compete for those things. And so this adds in special dogs, and you also get to have a trainer that can teach dogs new tricks and give them special abilities as well. All of that sounds interesting and exciting to me. If you wanted everything, which you don't need, it's £75, 127 Canadian, and it doesn't really look, I guess, unless there's an add-on section. Or you can just get the standard edition if you were hoping for a reprint of Dog Park. Well, it's 41 euros and it was 39. 41 pounds, sorry, and it was 39. So that's, again, that's like plus shipping. That's still going to be like 80 bucks Canadian, which, to be fair, I just paid for Hidden Arc, and because I upped my pledge to Deluxe, even though the value was not there, I just did it anyway. But that was after shipping. So what's the shipping going to be? 14 bucks to the US, 17 pounds to Canada. Thanks for using our national currency. Much appreciated. You know why they say 17 pounds? Because $29, $28.50 would scare anybody away. So 97 to get to this game to my door. This is sort of a $50 to $60 game for me, you know? It seems like Gateway Plus. It seems all right, but I've never been a huge fan personally of the sort of path mechanic. I like here too that they kind of incentivize you to not be the last person in the path, because you'll lose reputation for being a slow dog walker. Yeah, because you'll lose reputation for taking more time with the dogs, for letting them enjoy the sights and see the smells. But I do like that aspect of it, and I think that's kind of neat. I also love the detail and the bits that you get here. If you want a game about dogs, and you want to play it with people who love dogs, well, this seems passable. I think you'll have a passable time, and you'll probably enjoy yourself. Anyway, if you're interested in that, finishes Thursday, July 6th at 12 p.m. Moving along to Potions and Spells, a recipe-building card game for 2 to 6 players. Cast spells to attack or gain advantages to collect ingredients to brew magical potions. And I'm pretty sure you can only ship this to the US. Yes. So only the United States people should take note of this, unless you got your hookups whenever you want something in the US. But let's see if we want this one. All right. Seems fine. Print and play, though, $5, that's nice. Anything that has a card that says, block a spell from another player, and that's not kind of encompassed in a much larger game, it kind of turns me off a bit. And I'm not a huge fan of that, because it kind of feels a little bit more random. It's fine as just like a quick, easy card game, but I already have a bunch of quick, easy card games that I like. I find this, honestly, the campaign game market might be saturated, but quick, easy card games is a tough market, or should be a tough market, because of how saturated it is. And yet, I don't think people consider it, because they say, oh, it's just quick, it's easy, it'll get played. But you're still going to gravitate towards the things that you really, really enjoy. That being said, this seems okay. That's just kind of a tangent on like quick, easy card games, you know? This is where the rulebook goes. Oh, it does ship to Canada and Mexico, but you're not paying that. It's only going to the US. No actual rulebook here, so why that is, I don't know. Says we get one. But I think it's going to be pretty easy. I think that video actually did a pretty good job of explaining what it is. You're going to get ingredients cards. You can see the ingredients cards have values to them, 1, 2, or 3, and then you're going to use those ingredients to make potions. And the value is important because you must have the exact value to get the potions, and the potions are up for draft. And then when you brew them, they provide you one ingredient. I thought this might be a recurring ingredient, but maybe not. Maybe it's just an extra little herb that spits out of the potion because you didn't actually need to use that much. That's what happens whenever I'm cooking, personally. That's how I know a recipe is done. If you throw items into the pasta and it spits it right back in your face, you know it's done, ready to eat. So it seems, I mean, it seems light, it seems fine. If I'm being particularly harsh on this, it's because, well, one of my patrons sent it to me and said, hey, check this out. And they've been on a buying spree and need to stop purchasing everything. This is your intervention. But if you're interested in that, check it out. That finishes Thursday, July 6th at 12:58 a.m. Moving along to Firefly, the collector's edition, the 10th anniversary collector's edition, where you get everything and anything Firefly, all the promo cards, all the storage solutions, all the fires, and all the flies. I hear at the bottom of your box, there's just a bunch. No, I can't even continue with that imagery. That's gross. I mean, look at this. $300 Canadian. Why? I can already tell you when I rank all the games at the end of the year that have raised over $1 million, because I always do that to kind of have a retrospective and see which ones pulled me in the most or which ones I thought looked cool and which ones didn't. This is going to be at the bottom. It's going to be pretty close to the bottom because I just don't think it's a good value. I think it's an average game that is not worth this price point. Get the base game, really. Are you ready to misbehave though? Okay, you know what? You're pulling me back. You're pulling me back, but even still, it seems too long and too excessive for what it is. So many people in the Firefly 5 Reasons said, oh, but you need everything. It really improves the experience. Does it? Does it make it worth that $300 that you're going to spend on this? Is it worth not purchasing, I don't know, $5, $60 games? I don't think so. Some games are. This one, not so much. Anyway, if you want a full breakdown on how to kind of look at the game, you can check out the 5 Reasons. I don't want to belabor this too much since we covered it over there and we still have a lot to get to. But this is just your reminder, too, that if you are interested, it is finishing on the 6th at 6 p.m. So you have until then to rewatch the 5 Reasons You Shouldn't Back and remind yourself that this game is just okay. Moving along to HacKClaD, or HacKClaD. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a competitive deck-building arena battler for 1 to 4 players in a stunning Thiefy Anime Gami from Japan. Intrigued. Feels like a solo game. 90 to 120 minutes is not the runtime that I expected on this. Oh, look at that. They're kickstarting the expansion at the same time. I guess the demand is there. This is fun, though. You do get a couple minis as the stretch goals. And a co-op expansion clad deck. I'm just so confused to what the gameplay is going to be. Well, good thing they have a gameplay section, right? This is the thing that's intriguing me. Using up all the cards in your deck to upgrade your cards and charge up your actions. So when you empty your deck, it becomes more powerful, but I assume you empty it. Oh, maybe that just means when you go through it, that's less exciting. Rulebook halfway down the page. This is also that specifically you have different colored back cards for each character. It says choose a character and they'll all play differently. But then it said it's a deck building adventure, so it's not a deck building, it's just running through stuff. I don't get it. Each card is going to have sort of an attack value, and basically you're trying to deal damage, and however much damage you deal to the Clad, the evil villain, that you have to withstand 9 rounds in, you then get that many points. And so you're just trying to deal the most damage possible, chaining together and positioning yourself effectively while not dying, because then you'll lose efficiency because, dying's a little inefficient. Because basically this will show the Clad's movements and how they will attack, and then you can choose when you're going to go in the order, because if you can see here above my head, it's going to go in an order, boom, 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 boom. So it's a bit of programming, and if you are the last person, you're going to have to figure out where the Clad's going to end up and just do that accurately. It's like programming without the fun of being able to screw up, other than you just not being a good visual learner. So basically, anytime you reform your deck, you can upgrade your deck by swapping in an enhanced card, and that's the deck building aspect of it. So it's more deck construction on the fly, right? Because you're only going to have a preset amount of cards. You know what those actions are going to be. It's going to be like leveling up your RPG character over the course of a game. And hey, if that sort of thing excites you, then I think this might be worth checking out. For me, I think it looks okay, but the attacks seem a little bit basic. The examples that they show seem a little bit basic. I understand you're moving around tactically, but it just doesn't excite me. What can I say? Figuring out the pattern and the range. I think what doesn't excite me is because the Clad doesn't seem that dynamic or interesting. And so then it's just, how many times can I punch this thing in the face and get a bunch of points and then either win by myself or win together, depending on if you're doing co-op or whatever. Especially because it's $49, 65 Canadian, with estimated shipping of $15 if you're in the US or Canada. So $64 US. It's just, doesn't get you excited enough, right? Or doesn't get me excited enough, and therefore doesn't get you excited enough. But hey, if you're interested in that, check that out. It finishes July 6th, Thursday at 7 p.m. Moving along just quickly, I'm cutting bad games left and right on the fly, so neither of us have to sit through them. But this one isn't a bad game, and you know that because it's raised almost $250,000 in this TTRPG, Triangle Agency Paranormal Investigation. I'm not going to go into this too much. Oh wow, this is the digital version. Is only $30 for the PDF. Usually they're $25, but I guess they've gone up to $30. They've been inspired by Gloomhaven. $30, you can get a physical book from Gloomhaven though. Here, this one is $60 for a physical book. That just feels astronomically expensive, especially because you're using four-sided dice. Who likes D4s nowadays? Isn't that the most hated of all dice? I don't understand how this is doing so well. They're hitting the niche. The D4 players have been underrepresented for too long, and this is their champion. This is a fun video. It gives kind of like a nice intro into the world. These anomalies have bonded with you, and you're going to be sort of this corporate agent trying to take down other bad anomalies, probably, while it consumes you from the inside. Honestly, I think you can get other RPG systems for simpler, but hey, it seems like a fun world if you like that dystopian, Soylent Green feeling. Well, check this out. The finish is Friday, July 7th at 12:59 a.m. Moving along to Project Riese, battling the zombie apocalypse of World War II in the secret underground complex of Project Riese. The only Project Riese I need is getting some of those peanut butter cups. Yeah, yes, I will accept all cookies. God, I hate myself. And this is familiar to me. This is because it is by the same people who did Escape from Stalingrad Z, which I covered over a year ago in Crowdfunding Countdown. Again, that master sheet, I just used it to remind myself of why I was excited about Stalingrad Z, and I agree with past Chris, who is much more eloquent than current Chris, who has yet to read the rulebook and is just faking it. But I really like this, and I hope they have the same. They do have the same. They have a print and play for this PDF version. It's all in a book. They should have a book version, a travel set. This set includes everything you need except the 12-sided dice. You also need to print a copy of the character dashboards and team control sheet, but that's fine. It's just paper. Comes with a bunch of tokens, though. Before, it just came with the book, so I think that's improved. 45 bucks Canadian, a little more expensive than what it was in the last time. But this is going to be sort of a standard scenario-based game as you progress through a story, which apparently has multiple endings, 40 new maps and scenarios, 9 new heroes, new weapons, skill trees, zombie types, terrains, and most importantly, an entirely new story. So that, to me, tells me that it's the exact same system, which I thought looked good. I thought it looked a little bit laborious in terms of you're going to be constantly checking, hey, what does this check do? What does that do? You're not going to be able to retain all of that information, likely, but otherwise it's fairly straightforward to get to. This is a nice rulebook too, because it's basically this training manual that I'm reading leads you into it very simply in terms of how to move, how to take actions, and then you're going to grow from there into figuring out how to combat the zombies, or just hug them until they disintegrate under your love. Yeah, I mean, I still have campaign game fatigue, but this, I think, makes it more accessible. It's an easy book, it's an easy moving around, you're checking dice, you're seeing if you hit the zombie in the head, you're trying not to get overwhelmed, and it's for a decent price as well. 45 Canadian, I wish it were still as cheap as Escape from Stalingrad Z, which raised almost 200K. How much have you raised? Yeah, less than that. And I think that's because of the uptick. I think they really hit the nail on the head with the price in Stalingrad Z, because the point of having a travel set, right, should be to also save on the shipping, and it doesn't look like it did that. Although, to be fair, only 194 went for the travel set last time, and everybody kind of went for the box set with the minis. Because we love minis. That's true. Also a bit of an uptick. Anyway, it doesn't seem bad. I'm just kind of done with scenario games, but this seems like, again, like a manageable scenario game, and maybe one that I would be interested in playing solo, right? Because you just have your little book, you move your tokens around, you put it all back, easy peasy. And that's the kind of flow that I would want. So check that out if that interests you, or check out past Chris for more information about the system. That finishes July 7th at 6 p.m. Friday. Let's keep moving. Let's see if this is good or if it's cut. Ocean Pods, the dice game. draft resources to complete research goals whilst working together to stop pollution. One could win, but all could lose, because climate change hurts us all. As do killer whales. They're a menace. The one good thing climate change did was take out some of those killer whales. They're still riding high off of the marketing and the publicity and the PR from Free Willy, but we know the truth. Killer whales are cousins to bears. You heard it here first. Following the success of Lakes, Molinarius Games are delighted to present our next game, Ocean Pods. And you said they couldn't get any bigger. They showed you. Their first game, Puddles, was, we try not to talk about that. I'm excited for their next game, Galactic Rivers, but you didn't hear that from me. Okay, I get this, but it doesn't excite me at all. You're going to be rolling dice, and they're going to be drafting that dice using those resources to get the whales, and you get points for based upon, it seems right now, just how many resources you spend, which feels uninteresting to me. And then, in addition, every time the ship moves down into a new ocean, little pollution tile gets dropped. And if 3 pollution tiles ever get dropped, well, then the game is over. And so it says, oh, it's semi-cooperative. So you have to decide, do you draw a pollution tile and skip your turn, or do you draft your dice? And the answer is, you draft your dice. It doesn't matter. Somebody else will clean up the pollution, or nobody will, and you'll lose. Or the winner takes the pollution, right? That's sort of like push and pull when it's predetermined, everybody kind of knows, and then there's also really no incentive to do it. It feels not exciting to me. I like the drafting, I like the rolling, it's just they took that from Wingspan, and that was it. First person to 12 points wins, so, this one had 5, and then you only have to spend 4 resources, look at that. Then you score. I don't know, it just seems like you're going to force whoever's in last to take the pollution tile, and it would just even out. So whenever it kind of maths out that it would even out, that doesn't seem like an exciting potential endgame trigger, and then kind of lessens all the other decisions that you're going to make. Looks neat enough. £16, $27 Canadian. Hey, you get some custom dice, you get a few cards, get an easy dice game of rolling stuff and drafting things. The special thing is going to be this blue dice, which lets you do special things on your turn. Again, though, one of them is like, reroll 1 dice, and the other one's like, hey, take 2 resources. So they're just not equal. Shipping seems pretty reasonable to UK and the EU. US and Canada, not reasonable at all. Anyway, worthwhile talking about, I think. It's not horrible enough to get cut, as, 4 or 5 have been this week. It certainly isn't episode 96, let's just call it that. But not many weeks can be. If you want a fun ocean conservation game, may I direct your attention to a late pledge of Hidden Ark. Anyway, but if you're interested in that one, that finishes Saturday, July 8th at 1:37 a.m. Ooh, also the day that we open Pinocchio. Oh, geez, I gotta learn my lines. Moving along to Fairies and Magical Creatures, a magical game where you collect fairies, plant gardens, build fairy homes, and be the first mortal to join the fairy realm. Or really the second mortal, because as we all know, the first mortal was Ariana Grande, playing the Pickle Fairy. I've never seen the show. I just assumed that at one point Ariana Grande was dressed as a fairy, and I was correct. And I think that is a pretty big win of the week. This one I've already taken a little bit of a look at because I thought it might be horrible, but I think it actually looks like it'll be passable as well. So let me take a deeper look, and I'll get back to you immediately, because I cut all of those silences and those parts out. By the creator of Raccoon Tycoon, look at that. I haven't played Raccoon Tycoon, but I know it exists, and I know some people like it. And see, here's the thing that intrigued me a little bit. I still have to get to the rulebook, but you have to balance out fighting for this area control in the center, or building this polyomino puzzle, building out a fairy garden so that fairies will love you. Dang, I closed the tab. I would have gone back to Ariana Grande. Ariana, I'm not interested, okay? My heart belongs to another sweet fairy.
Are you talking about me?
Of course I was talking about you.
I knew it.
Let's get away from this hussy and go to a more magical place. Here we are, yes.
It's always magical.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this sweet little thing.
Well,
what?
I always knew you wanted a little pet.
Well, you're my little pet, honey.
See, that's why. That's
Yes,
why you hold the key to my heart, Maggie.
I hold the key to many things. Your heart, your house, Ariana Grande's house, and I'm
Okay, I
going
gotta
to...
get back to work. Kiss, kiss.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, kiss, kiss. I have things to do.
Sweet, beautiful Maggie. That's a real woman, Ariana. Oh, wait, you mean the last chance to get Mosaic, the Colossus edition, when they had that big FOMO Kickstarter, wasn't the last chance? Who could have imagined that? Give me the rules, almost at the bottom of the page. Way to hide your rulebook. I love how the tiles come out randomly in a bag, as if you can't just reach into the bag and feel around for the tiles that you want to come out. Oh, great. This has the follow mechanic in it. Like, why don't you lead with that? Jeez. There's going to be a number of actions. You choose an action, you do it, and everybody else has to do it. And you also get a chance to play a card from your hand. Seriously, Faeries, it was one of the most piss-poor how-to-play explanations that I've seen. Get it together. Okay, I'm sure there's a reason for this, but it seems weird. You're moving your victory point token on your board, and you say, yes, this is how many points I have, so your board acts as your garden and victory points. I assume there's something as to where things are located, or if your victory point token is on it at a certain point, you get to do actions. Like, it's gotta be. Otherwise, there's no reason to have that clutter. Okay, so here's the area majority. If you have the most kinship tokens there, you get 1 point for every single kinship token there. Here are the 5 actions you can do. You can put some kinship tokens in there. You can build a garden. You can take tiles. You can befriend a fairy, which is draft a card, which you'll be able to play. You can play a card, so I assume you get to play 2 cards. And then you can call fairies, which is draw cards from your draw pile, which feels like the worst action to take, kind of similar to taking pollution in ocean pods. Okay, so you're also scoring points by placing polyominoes adjacent to path tiles. So you can either create a path tile or a garden fixture, and you only score points for garden tiles that are touching the path at the end. That's kind of cool. And now zooming in on the board, I can see that there are bonuses on the board. So you can get kinship, draw tokens, and victory points as well. So you have your own little covering up puzzle, which seems nice. Yeah, you do get to play 2 cards as 1 action. You can also discard a card. Who cares? When you're drawing cards, I don't feel like that seems exciting to me, but I guess you have to have some way of drawing cards, and you just hope not to be that player that lets everybody else do it. I feel like I would rather this was a single action, like only you got to do it. That would make that a little bit more interesting to me. But seems very simple. Seems very simple to win. Seems very simple to play. What's the money for it? 39 bucks. 52 Canadian. And then shipping to the US is $8.85. I like that it is accurate. I mean, they're estimates, but we got a lot of 15s in here. 17.15, sure. So this, for my US friends, is going to be like 50 US. This for me in Canada, like 56, which is what I played for Hidden Arc, but Hidden Arc got me more excited. Yeah, I guess it was a bit too... No, it was only more expensive because I went for the deluxe copy. I gotta keep telling that to my brain. I'm like, yeah, I bumped it up to the deluxe copy. I did it. And I wasn't happy with paying that price. I would have been much more happy with the retail edition. But whatever. I did it, and it's fine. You see how I agonize over price, right? I mean, I really love the art in this, and the game flow seems a lot more interesting than this campaign page suggests. That's why I'm happy I read the rulebook. That being said, it seems too expensive for what it is. The complexity here being a 2, I think that's reasonable, right? And so if you're interested in the light aspect of gaming and you like the art, which I certainly do, check that out. The finish is Saturday, July 8th at 1:59 a.m. Let's move along to Beverage is back. Just Beverage. It's just Beverage. I met a dog named Beverage the other day, and she'll be on the screen right now. That's true. That's true. Worker placement at its thirstiest. Well, you've got my attention. I've always been interested in thirsty workers as I walk by the construction zone and have them looking at me with their tongues lolling out. And I say, put that back in your head, boys. But secretly, I'm interested in it not being back in their head, but out of their head. Because as you know, I'm a tongue collector, and they're all over my walls. An economic worker placement game with a bit of push your luck and a lot of cutthroat strategy. Or cut tongue strategy. I swear I didn't read ahead. Bigger and thirstier than ever. Oh, get it, girl. All right, let's see. Look at all these unique bottles. Which one is yours? I don't know. They all seem a bit big for me. Probably the purple one. Or the one shaped like an eagle. I love that the pitch is that a stadium is coming to the city. And yes, it means that a stadium is being built in the city, but I'm picturing it as a traveling stadium, like a traveling circus, but it's a big, giant stadium that wanders from town to town, waiting for sporting events and vending machines to fill it up. But that's the premise. You want to outmaneuver your competitors and be the most famous beverage company when the stadium opens, because then people are going to be drinking your sweet product and not that of your competitors. Secret bidding, always fun. The less you plan to spend, the earlier your turn will be in the round. That's kind of cool. I don't know what this is yet, but it seems exciting and provocative. Oh, this is cool. This is sort of an area control that you're playing, where if you've connected the most spaces together, like these white polar bears have done, or these golden eagles have done, then you get points. Oh, and the middle row can only be purchased in the last stage of the game. That's kind of neat. All right, rulebook, a little over halfway down the page. Cool, so there's a reputation track that can never go down below 0. Reputation is going to be an important commodity in this game because that is your stake as a business. You can issue dividends to people, and that might increase your reputation because people like you because you're giving them money. But if you don't pay those dividends every time, well, then your reputation is going to go down because you just took their money. What is interesting, though, is that in a lot of games where you're stacking discs on people, it's the person who got there second or who stacks the disc on top of someone that has the tiebreaker. And this one is the first person to get there has the tiebreaker. So I like that. I like that sort of race aspect, which makes everything feel important to get right away. Your money is also bottle caps because this is now a Fallout board game. There's also going to be 2 main resources that you have, which is money and these bottles. Bottles representing sort of your workers and your presence in the space. And I like that you're going to have to balance them out. This seems cool. Oh, this is cool. So you're trying to really outthink your opponents in terms of bidding on the amount of money you receive. But the key is the lower number gets to receive that money first. So if there's $10 that come up, for example, and I bid 3 and you bid 4 and friggin' Gerald bid 7, well, I would get the 3 because I bid 3 correctly. You would get 4 because you're smarter than me because I'm a little idiot. And Gerald, well, Gerald could only take 3 and not 7, so Gerald busts. So anyone who busted has to make a bid, but they can only bid. Anyone who busts can make a bid on the remaining money in the area, but they can only make a bid that's 1 lower, maximum 1 lower than the lowest bid. So in my case, because I bid 3, they could only make a bid of 2 max. Wow, this is punishing. It's punishing when you're so thirsty and nobody is quenching your thirst, even if you and Maggie are open to other people quenching your thirst if you happen to be away from each other. Sometimes that thirst don't get quenched. That's stupid. All right, and as for the other stuff that you do in the game, pretty standard. You can just put your workers down to get money, but that stuff you're going to have to go back. You can go up the PR track, which will help get you more reputation. Remember, reputation is the thing that you want to win. You can increase your reputation. You can invest in the stadium, which were those card rows, which will give you endgame points. And you can train employees, which will give you more actions later on down the line, which is important because those actions or those people are going to be primarily, I feel, used putting on the stadium track. It feels like the crux of the game is going to be taking place in that bidding round and around that stadium. This seems interesting to me. I worry that it would be a little bit unpredictable, but that's why you can use your market research tokens to wait until everybody's bid, then look at the total amount, and then make your bid as well. So if you also know the total amount, that might get into something interesting, right? If everybody knows the total amount in terms of how you're going to bid. It says this takes place in 90 minutes. I feel like it would be a bit quicker, but shipping is expensivo, but not in Japan because it's a Japanese company. $20 to the US, 29 to Canada. It's already sitting around 69 Canadian. That's 50 something American. So looking at over $100 again to get this game, which looks interesting, but not for that price. It's got to be something extraordinary to break that $100 bar, and I just don't think it is. But it looks good. Definitely looks good. So check it out. It finishes Sunday, July 9th at 11:55 a.m. Moving along to Logline, a movies lovers game. And really the only reason I clicked on this is because the Logline is a game for true movie lovers and watches. And I just think that's the most unfortunate typo to ever happen to a game on Kickstarter. Moving along to Inventions, Evolution of Ideas by Vital Lacerda. Use the power of humanity's most noteworthy inventions to evolve society in this innovative strategy game with artwork by Ian O'Toole. I remember this was on here now, and I remember why I should have set aside more time for the rules. Let's check it out. Really weird. Like, I understand content creators make content, but also really weird decision for Eagle Griffin to agree to have the content creators Antlab games just like start it. It's not an Antlab game. It's not. They didn't design it. It's Eagle Griffin games. It's a Vital Lacerda game, and that just sets a weird tone. But anyway, let's keep watching. See, we end with the board game Nexus, which is also just Antlab when they changed their name to avoid people being mad at them. It's a testament to Vital Lacerda that I can watch a 5-minute video and still have zero idea of what the point of the game is or how to play it. But like anything in Vital Lacerda, it's just like, hey, do a bunch of stuff always and forever and get a bunch of points for it. Oh, man, it's expensive though. $129, 171 Canadian. That's going to be over $200. I think I wanted to just pull the trigger on this based upon my enjoyment of Rococo from Eagle Griffin. I know it's not by the same designer, but that's just way too rich for my blood. What's the player count on this, though? 1 to 4 players. That's interesting, because there is a little marking. There's a point in here where you can make inventions, but in order to trigger those inventions, you have to share it with somebody around the table. So I wonder if there's an automa system for 2 players. I don't see how that would make sense for 2 players, because then you're just getting the same benefit, right? I do like that it takes place in a fictional world where humans enjoy collaborating with each other and aren't trying to just other each other into the ground. It's nice to daydream, isn't it? But I do love this. Let's go. Rulebook, boom, 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 little stuff. Click here to read the draft rulebook. Eagle Griffin. You're speaking my language, baby. You're speaking it with all 28 pages of it. That's honestly much smaller than I expected. 2-player rules. You see here, though, 2-player rules 23 to 24. That's because of that shared invention mechanic, which makes me think if you're solo or you're 2-player, you may not be as interested in this one. Just a gut feeling. And right here, too, player count differences, 4-player, 3-player, and 2-player. And the 2-player relies on an automated opponent. God, I'm good. It's almost like I know what I'm talking about. Just barely. I'd like to reemphasize that I certainly do not, but we do our best. Hey, editing Chris, add a little like and subscribe there, you dingbat. What, are you gonna leave that in? You probably left that in. You piece of... Oh, this already is a bad rulebook, though, in terms of, like, they're like, yeah, anything in black is for the 4-player game, but it also is just bold. So I don't know yet if take the idea from the Era 2 stack. I'm going to have to learn a whole new set of rules for 3 players or 2 players, but I'm already exhausted by it. You can see the little pink 2-player here. Set aside your +1 influence. You're setting aside 2 influence tokens. That feels decently manageable. It just gives me a bit of red flags. But again, prototype, right? Prototype still has some zhuzhing up to do to make it readable and accessible. I don't penalize people that much for those things. Here's the core of the game, though. The core of the game, this is always good to start when explaining a game, is the goal is to put your ideas out in the world so that they can become inventions, and they can be then shared with humankind. And that gains you IP points, not intellectual property, but ingenuity points. Of course, as it's always been referred to. Lets you increase your population and advance your society. You want to have the best society ever. And so that means coming up with fire from the Stone Age. This is kind of fun, though. On the Era track, Chronos Advance depicts the ever-constant march of time. I love this. And if you're ahead of it, well, then you're ahead of the times. And if you're behind it, well, then you are one of those people who thinks drag story time is a bad idea, aka behind the times. Catch up. And then the game is going to take place with this action selection, which you'll have to choose, and you'll have to wait until the epoch counter moves forward again before you can take those actions again. The only way you could take them again is if you unlock these chain actions, which allow you to do additional actions, regardless of if you've been blocked by time or not. Clock blocked, as they say. I love this. It goes through all the actions for 10 pages, and then you say, oh yeah, now you can continue taking your turn in terms of the flow of this this rule book, it's a big one, but of course we knew that going into it. Yes, please tell me what these tiles do. The building of these tiles is exciting to me. If you're building all of them, you don't have to pay any influence. But if you're only building one, then you have to pay influence. So it benefits you to just build them all, but they may not all work with that sort of tile laying thing that's going to be set out. That's kind of cool. Let's get into it. Let me distill this as effectively as I can. Of course, the components are going to be upgraded. Give me some more graphics. Nope, all the graphics are at the top. All right. This is tough to distill what would be interesting. In a sense, it's action selection. So you're going to be choosing these actions, and you're going to have to be creative in how you choose them and pre-planning ahead, because you can't choose them again unless you have additional action spaces that you can acquire based upon the influence that you get. You're also going to be doing with these action selections, you're going to be managing these different types of specialists, these workers that all have a different specialty, economy, culture, something else. These three colors that you see on the board, the green, the beige, and the dark beige. In addition, you're going to be building out your own personal map and your own personal board there, while also developing these inventions that will create ingenuity and spread it across the land, which you can only access if you have learned enough stuff over the ages. It's kind of the distillation of it. It's Vital Lacerda. It's pretty complicated. The action selection seems interesting to me. It's hard to see how they're all going to link up right now. I also like managing variable workers. There's a bit of confusion on my part in terms of when you take the workers back and when they become exhausted. They can either be ready and ready to use, or they're exhausted. Generally, I think when you take them back, they become exhausted. Kind of like Anachrony, where you have people who stay ready and ain't gotta get ready. But that seems a little bit unclear to me through that first pass. Not first pass, I mean, I just spent 40 minutes reading it. In-depth first pass, I guess we should say. But it's all based around the ebb and the flow of sending your people out and bringing your people back. They also will be on this sort of locations board, which impacts what you can do, what you can research, what ideas you can get, and the ebb and flow of that plays a little bit of an area control game, it seems, as well. It's $129 plus shipping to the US is $18, which makes sense. It's going to be a big heavy game. Shipping to Canada is $23, so it's all in that range of 18 to 23 to 24 to 30, right? I'm looking at over $200 Canadian. I think Age of Inventors is easier to learn, something you can apparently still late pledge for, although that's probably not true. Yeah, it was only 6 months ago. You could. Let's see. Yeah, you could. 49 euros. Estimated delivery in September. This one deals with similar tile laying game. I mean, a similar theme. And I remember this one being a little bit interesting to me as well. Upgrading your laboratory, etc. I don't know if there's enough here that really gets me frothing at the mouth to play it. There's a lot of back and forth and flow and complexity. But I don't know, I've been more drawn in by some of Vital Lacerda's other titles. So not personally that interested. Then again, Vital Lacerda makes great games. Eve Griffin makes great production. So if you get it, I hope you love it. Anyway, that finishes July 9th at 4 p.m. Let's move on. Let's move on. We still got a few to go. And it's getting even later. And my throat is getting tired. But we have the Glade by R&D Games, set in a forest, an enchanting and challenging tile laying game you'll want to play again and again, by Richard Riese, who actually, if I didn't plan this, but Keyflower, half by Richard Riese, also by R&D Games. So let's see if this is any good. All right, this one seems simple enough. It's a tile laying game, as they said in the log line. And I do love in the video they said, yes, you can place tiles just like that famous word game. Because apparently they can't say Scrabble or they'll be sued. I can already tell this is going to be too expensive for me for what it is. It seems fine. The basic premise is you're going to have 12 toadstools all lined up down here, and anytime you place a set of 4 tiles that have 4 matching elements, you then get to take one of the toadstools from the board that has been placed. If you place less than that, you have to put the toadstools onto the board in a column where those things intersect, or whatever, based upon what you have. If you have 2 things in common, then they would make that spot where if you had hedgehogs and mushrooms on your tiles, well, then the toadstool would go there. And then when somebody makes a row of 4 hedgehogs, they get to take that toadstool away from you and score points for it, basically. And as you can see, they all have 3 characteristics. One is the color, also represented by the leaf. One is the animal, and one is the forest fruit. And kind of like Quirkle, each set of tiles, when you have 3 down or set, will only have one exact thing, and that's where you'll place your mushroom in the glade. Place the tiles, go back and forth. Remember, you're drawing them all from a bag, so you're trying to match up how to place your stuff on your board, creating the matches at the right time to take stuff from your opponent. Seems fine. However, it's $68 Canadian, 40 pounds. It gets to 60 pounds, which puts it exactly at that $100 mark. For me, this is something where, like, I'd pay 40 for it, you know? Seems fine. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing against it, but not for me. If you're interested in that, it finishes July 10th at 5 p.m. Moving along. Whoa, this one's raised a lot of money, and I think I know why. It reminds me exactly of the game Siege. I think it was Siege. It certainly wasn't 6 Siege, which, is called Weapons and Warriors. But when I had it, it was definitely Siege. Maybe that was a Canadian thing. See? Assedio. This game was friggin' awesome. I played this so much as a kid, and I think that's exactly what this is. You have a castle, you're creating it on one side, you have a crossbow, or you have a catapult. The crossbow was always better, and you have to knock the people down. But apparently you can move your fighters to reposition, which that wasn't in Siege, but it's alright. Knock down all the enemy warriors and their generals, so you have to target the people and not the castle. Fantastic. Fantastic game. I don't need to download the rulebook. How much are you? Only $30? Bricks to build 2 castles, warriors, weapons, and ammo. Might be available in mass market stores. Amazing. Obviously, they're pushing the Fortress War, which is $90, which gives you 3 times the building power, and, I think the basic is great. Is this going to be a pick for you? You bet it is. Maybe it's a pick for me. It's going to be one of them. Anyway, $30 US, that feels good. I didn't even check the shipping, I was so excited. Oh, not great. So it's 50. And it says it might be available in retail before you show up. So actually, just kidding, don't get this. Wait until it's in retail. It'll be cheaper because you won't have to pay the shipping. Still, thrilled that this is existing. Way to go, Restoration Games. Great job. That finishes July 11th at 12 a.m., aka Monday the 10th night. Moving along, we're ramping up now. I think only a couple left, because I think the last ones look bad, so I think they're going to get cut. This one I clicked on because it said a 2-player social deduction game, which I don't believe exists. But let's see what sort of social deduction you can make, or if it's just bluffing. Can it be social deduction with 2 people? Can you observe how the other people are interacting with other people? I don't think you can, but let's check it out. Yeah, basically you're either Samson, who's trying to figure out if that hussy Delilah actually loves him, or just wants him to cut off all of his hair. Feast your eyes on these beautiful locks, Delilah. Actually, no, I desperately need a haircut. That's, although not as desperate as when this channel first started in COVID. Okay, that's a pretty good explanation. I'll check the rules, but I don't think there's going to be much more than that. It seems pretty basic. You're going to be playing cards face down, and then you're going to flip them up. Delilah is playing on the Philistine side, and then Samson is playing on the Israelite side. And the Israelites have to fight the Philistines and spank those naughty Philistines back to their false prophets and gods, right? Delilah, in order to be on Samson's side, needs to play 2 locks of hair, thus making the Philistines stronger. Samson needs to be better than that. And also, the key here is that any cards of the same color that aren't hair cancel each other out. So you see here how there's some orange and some pink. Those are all canceled out. It doesn't matter the number, it matters that they're all canceled out. So then Delilah's total becomes 2, 2, 3, 3. So Delilah could have been playing hair on one side and saying, listen, I'm playing the hair on the other side. I'm putting orange here, don't put orange here. And so it's that sort of back and forth, and Samson just has to respond to it. It says it's print and play is $3, $14 shipping, free USA shipping for $14. That's not bad for a micro game. If that seems exciting to you, go for it. That finishes Tuesday, July 11th at 1 a.m. This is going to be our last one of the week. There are a couple more that I don't think are going to be good, but honestly, I've been doing this for a long time. Maybe it has translated into my voice, maybe not, but I need to go to sleep so I can wake up and do the days all over again. We're going to check out Coney, where you can collect resources and breed rabbits in this puzzly abstract game with gorgeous, unique artwork. Artwork, I think I said. It's getting to be that time. Oh, that's cool. A rabbit's teeth never stop growing. Instead, they're gradually worn down as rabbits chew on grasses, wildflowers, and vegetables, meaning they never get too long. I did not know that. Worthwhile checking out the campaign just for that. And this €5 print and play, or €20 edition. Let's see how you even play it. They mentioned a 3x3 card grid according to unique placement rules. You can choose one of three actions, either restock, play rabbit cards, or growth. Restock is very simple. You discard and you replenish, and you gain resources, so you have that flow. And whatever you have to do, you have to have placement rules. If you zoom in here, you can see, can I zoom in? Yeah. No men allowed with this bunny. Ladies only. It's ladies' night for that bunny. Did I just screw up my whole framing? Maybe. What did I do? What did I do? Well, that's not great. Turns out I was cutting off the page for a long time. Sorry about that, but certainly I'm not going to re-record. I'm sorry that you couldn't see the page as effectively as you should have. That's very frustrating. Anyway, you have to obey these rules. That's what I was trying to say. Or you can create your chain together and activate all your growth phases. So it's kind of like Earth Light is basically what this is. That's really what it is. It's Earth Light. If you like Earth, you might like this because it's a smaller version without the follow action. It just relies on that flow of either discarding cards to get more or using your growth action to use the cards that you have put down. Yeah, rulebook is halfway down the page, but I'm pretty sure I got it. And it's 2 pages. No, it's not. It's 18. Yeah, and you're just chaining everything together. That's what it is. Cool. Honestly, Earth is decent, and this will be a quicker version of that decent. To Italy, €6. To Europe, 11 to 15. To Canada, it's 15. USA, it's 9. This would be €35. It'd be $50. That's about what Earth costs. So I'd get Earth over it. But if you live in Italy, it's fairly decent. Definitely not a bad way to end the week. That finishes Tuesday, July 11th at 11 a.m. And that's it. That's it for the week. Thank you, as always, for sticking with me. Sorry about that framing hiccup. I'm going to have to go back and look and see if that's been in previous crowdfunding countdowns, because I did not notice that. Don't know how that happened, but I appreciate you being here. So every week, I do a pick for me and a pick for you. And this week, we have a lot to choose from. This week, my pick for me is go back in time to last week, because last week was better. But there are some potentials here, and I think you know what's going to happen, because my pick for me is Crossbows and Catapults. It is. It's from my childhood. It feels good. I haven't even played this video yet, but I can only assume that it's amazing. Look at that. Look at how they're constructing those, and look at this. These friggin' catapults that are going to whack the goblins down. Mashing them down. I mean, the catapults were always a lot harder than the crossbows, but I love the customization. It's just a friggin' blast. If you have kids, $30, but wait, the shipping's horrible, so get it at retail. I'm thrilled something like this is coming back. I think it's going to have a great mass market appeal. It's great for toys. Good job. And then my pick for you, I think it's Beverage. Beverage stood out to me mechanically. Again, I feel like it's too much for what it is, so take that with a grain of salt. Maybe this should be the pick for me. I think this the pick for me so that you don't think that I'm justifying you spending so much. But I like this mechanically. You can go buy catapults and crossbows later. That's the pick for you. Yeah, I really thought this was fun. I really like the bidding aspect of it and the sussing out your opponents. Of course, you know I would appeal to something of that nature. I really like that when that's in games. I really wanted Inventions to blow me away. I really wanted Inventions to make me stand up and scream. But instead, it just made me go, yeah, seems all right. And for the high price of Lacerda's games and Eagle Griffin games, they need to be more than all right. If you're interested in Inventions, don't do it. Just go get Rococo instead, because Rococo will be better. But Beverage for me, I think it is. It is my pick for me. I don't know if the worker placement aspect is going to be as satisfying. I think it's going to be more focused around that bidding rather than the worker placement, and then more focused around claiming these different cards, right? Getting enough money That's going to be the crux of the game. Getting enough money so you can buy these cards and then not go down a reputation because you took too many dividends from your shareholders and you didn't give them any money back. So yeah, that's my pick for me. Crossbows and Catapults, that's my pick for you. And that's it. Hit like and subscribe. See you later. Let me know what you're excited about, because I always like hearing from you. Let me know what I missed, and I'll try to get to it in the next one. But until then, I need to go to sleep, because I've been wearing myself into the ground, and that should stop. Anyway, but even still, this was fun. I appreciate you being here. It's nice to have you here. I'm excited. We've been doing this for over 2 years. Yeah, over 2 years, because, well, I'll find the exact date. Oh no, I can get to it very easily. Just kidding. We're coming up on 2 years, July 12th to the 19th. That's when we started in 2021. So we are coming up on 2 years, which makes sense because you lose a couple weeks around Christmas time. And that's pretty cool. So I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you coming back week after week. I just really appreciate you. And thank you for watching and supporting the channel. You're all great. Anyway, my name's Chris George. I do not have a catchphrase. And I will not go on a date with you, Ariana. Stop asking. Talk about thirsty. I'll see you in the next one.